All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Jeff McKinley. I am the instructor for Intro to Cognitive Science, Psych 206. So, to get started, um, what is cognitive science? Cognitive science, here's the definition. Cognitive science is the interdisciplinary study of the mind, focusing on how the mind represents and manipulates knowledge and how mental representations and processes are realized in the brain. Now, I gave you a definition, but it's not really a great definition. And I don't know that there is a good definition of cognitive science because it's such a broad field. And for example, the field includes, just to name a few, psychology, neuroscience, computer science, artificial intelligence, anthropology, linguistics, education, and philosophy. And in fact, cognitive science is often referred to as the cognitive sciences because as we'll talk about later, it's not a unified field of science like, you know, uh, chemistry or biology or physics. It's usually just people from different perspectives arguing about how the mind works. So, some questions that you would maybe ask from different perspectives. So, if you're a psychologist, you might ask, what are the rules and or stages that govern the mind? If you're in neuroscience, you might say, how does the brain work? From the perspective of computer science and artificial intelligence, you might ask, what computer model could simulate this cognitive ability? And then philosophy, for example, is, what is the mind? Is it separate from the brain? And then again, if you're an anthropologist, you might ask, how does cognition vary across different cultures? Linguistics is, what are the rules that govern a language structure? Education, what are the rules that govern learning and knowledge acquisition, usually in an educational context? And then logic and math is also, you know, something that is important for cognitive science. And they might ask things like, can all problems be solved? And could the solutions to these problems be mechanized? And just to let you know, not all problems can be solved, and but problems that can be solved can be mechanized. In any case, here's another sort of way in which you can represent the cognitive sciences. So, human and computer interaction, so the alignment of technology with the parameters or limitations of human perception and cognition, and then improving exchange of information between humans and computers. And the one that comes to mind here is, a cockpit. If you're a pilot in a cockpit and you have a lot of information to deal with because there's a lot of different buttons in the cockpit. And so, you might have studies that look at how to minimize human error so that we can maximize how safe it is to be in a plane, right? Computer science looks at computation and representation, as well as artificial intelligence. Neuroscience is about neural circuitry and brain organization. So, where does a certain brain function live in the brain? We could talk about cognitive psychology, which deals with knowledge, mental representation, and processes. Linguistics is about the structure of languages. Philosophy of mind, these are usually higher level questions about the mind. Cognitive anthropology is about, knowledge transfer over time and space. Cognitive sociology is the socio-cultural consequences of human cognition. And education, maybe brain mechanisms underlying learning in the academic environment. That's just one example. And then evolutionary of psychology, which could be, evolution of the brain and how certain cognitive processes developed over time through natural selection. So in the next video, I'll talk about class structure.